embodiments of love.
దైవాన్ని నమ్మితే ఒక్క మాట పైన చెప్పిన అన్ని మాటలపైన దాన్ని నమ్మాలి.
We should follow God in total faith in whatever He says.
నీకు ఇష్టమైనటువంటి దానిపైన నమ్మకము, ఇష్టం లేని దానిపైన నమ్మకం లేకుండా పోవటము అది సరైనటువంటి ఒక విశ్వాసం కాదు.
You have faith if you like that, and you have no faith if you dislike it. It's not.
Sarah, everyone has their fears, and just like any other kid, I have the fear of staying alone in the dark. Recently, my grandma passed away, and ever since then, my biggest fear became losing someone close to me.
Sai, when I try new things, I feel feared.
One of my fears is when I come home from my friend's house in the dark.
One fear I had was stage fright.
And my biggest fear is the uncertainty of life. I'm in 12th grade, I'm going to go to college next year, and there's just so much uncertainty about how much time I can spend with my family, my future, my goals. So there's just a lot of things I don't know. However,
means to me is having complete confidence in God no matter what, even in the hard times. Thank you.
Faith means the trust in God and the belief that He will help you during hard times.
For me, hope is like believing in myself. Walt Disney is my favorite historical figure. When everybody tells that his ideas were impossible, he said, "You don't know what you can do unless you try." So, he did hard work and succeeded. I believe hard work and hope makes everything possible.
God is everywhere. God is in our souls. I pray to God every single day. I realize that having faith is the most important thing, especially having faith in God.
Let's say that you're hurt, or mentally or physically. Your parents can only help you to a certain extent. Other than that, there's still that part where you're still hurt, and only God can help you. You can mentally or physically get through that by having the willpower that's given to you by God.
With Swamy's teachings, I know that he will always guide me to the right path, and he'll make me always choose the right choices to better help my future.
And I say Sai Ram in my mind until I get home safely. Repeating God's name helps me overcome my fears.
I overcame it by having faith in Swamy and continuously practicing. I started speaking at my center for events like Ishwarama Day, which gave me hope, and I became fearless. Eventually, I got a chance to host a talent show at my school, and my teacher appreciated me. Whenever you have any fear, don't worry, because Swamy says, where there is hope, there is faith. Where there is faith, miracles happen.
When I visualize Sai Baba in my mind, I feel good, and it worked. When I pray Baba, I feel good and He guides me well.
I think God is all around me. He's next to me, He's inside me, He's everywhere. When I play chess with my dad, so sometimes I steal his pieces or I take back a move, and if my dad doesn't figure out, then God will take action. But if I act good and I have good behavior and I finish all my work, God will reward me, and so will my parents and my teachers.
దేనికైనను విశ్వాసం చాలా ప్రధానము.
For anything, faith is essential.
విశ్వాసమే లేకుండా ఏ కార్యం కూడా మనం సాధించలేము.
Without faith, you cannot achieve anything.
కనుక మానవునికి ప్రధానమైనటువంటి విశ్వాసము.
The faith is most important.
దేహానికి శ్వాస ఎంత ప్రధానమో ఆధ్యాత్మికానికి విశ్వాసం అంత ప్రధానము.
As the breath is important for this body, faith is necessary for the divine path.
కనుక ఈనాడు విశ్వాసం లేనటువంటి భక్తి,
today we have devotion without faith,
కేవలం శ్వాసం లేని జీవితము జరుగుతూ ఉంటుండాలి.
The life without breath.
దీన్ని చెప్పారు ఇంద్రియ నిగ్రహానికి కాడి కిందికి రాని ఎద్దు, కళ్ళం లేని గుర్రము, బ్రేకులు లేని కారు, ఇంద్రియ నిగ్రహం లేనటువంటి జీవితము నిరుపయోగము అన్నారు.
Therefore, the bull without yoke and the horse without the reins and the car without brakes are useless.
బ్రేక్లెస్ కార్.
Brakeless car.
కనుకనే ఈ విధమైనటువంటి దీనికి మనం సరైనటువంటి దీక్షను పూనాలి.
We should determine in such a way.
అన్నింటికి నామస్మరణే ప్రధానము.
For everything, Lord's name is important.
I pray to Swamy in the form of Mrityunjaya to overcome this fear. I sing his glory to overcome this fear. Mrityunjaya namaho Trayambakaya namaho Lingeshwaraya namaho Saishwaraya namaho.
Swamy, we offer our collective pranams at your lotus feet. Please be with us, guide us, and use us, your instrument to do your work. Thank you, Swamy. Sai Ram to you all. Welcome to regional satsang and these panel discussions. We are bringing this wonderful panel discussions to you. So please take a paper and pen to take notes. All the tips said by our panelists will help you later. As pandemic started, many of our kids attending classes from home, missing their friends and teachers' interactions in person. And as you all know, our region has started SAI case projects to help our SAI community. And often we receive calls to address our students' emotional support and well-being. With that thought, I was discussing with Chitra, our regional SSC coordinator, about these panel discussions. And she was able to find us wonderful guest speakers to address these areas. So with that note, please join me and welcome our guest speakers. Dr. Sindhura is currently working as a medical director at Lucy Daniel Center in Cary, North Carolina, which is a non-profit organization that really caters to the psychological needs to the children in the community. She came to Swamy's fold when she was 10 through her grandfather, who moved to Prasanthi and worked various projects for Swamy. She is graduated SSC student and active YA in Region 2. And she also participated many medical camps in Region 2 and also Puttaparthi camps. Let's welcome Dr. Sindhura. Sai Ram. Next guest speaker, we have Sister Varalakshmi. She feels very fortunate to be born into loving and spiritual family and has been lucky to be married into family who are also very spiritual and supportive. Sister Varalakshmi graduated with a degree in computer science and chose to be a homemaker. She came into Swamy's fold 26 years ago and realized that she was born with the purpose of being mother, not to her only son, but also the children that Swamy entrusted her through SSC. Her biggest passion is Swamy and want to be remembered for her selfless service. So let's welcome Sister Varalakshmi. And we have our own Sister Anu. She is going to help us sharing her thoughts and also helping us to move on these panel discussions too. And she was born into a family that has been Swamy's fold since 1964. She is a graduate of the Bala Vikas program in Chennai, India, and also alumni of Anandapur campus. After moving to the US in 1998, she continued to be actively involved in all the wings of SAI organizations. And Anu serves as the president of SSIO Center, Northeast Atlanta, and she is active SSC teachers too. So let's all welcome and sit back and take all the notes and everything. If you have any questions, please reach out to your SSC coordinators, service coordinators, or center officers. Any questions you may have to address. Jai Sai Ram. Thank you.
Dearest Swami, we dedicate this conversation at your divine lotus feet and pray that you think, listen, and speak through us this evening. On behalf of the panelists, a warm and loving Sai Ram to all the parents, teachers, and children who have tuned into this session. The Sai Spiritual Education Program, or Bal Vikas, as it was originally called, is very dear to Swami. In his many discourses to Bal Vikas children, Swami has reminded us that our own children are our Kama Putras, children born out of desire, while the Bal Vikas children are our Prema Putras. It is an absolute privilege and honor for Sister Varalakshmi, Dr. Sindhura, and I to have this opportunity to address the SSC families in our region. These are unprecedented times. We are closing in on the 1-year anniversary since the coronavirus outbreak was declared a pandemic. Public health actions such as social distancing and wearing of masks have become necessary in order to reduce the spread of the virus. And our parent responses to the recent survey have been varied. Despite the ever-changing situation, the pandemic has brought some families closer together, while some other families are struggling to cope with anxiety, fear, sadness, and uncertainty about the future. In fact, this is the biggest concern that came up in the survey results. Swami would often refer to the present as the omnipresent. He tells us not to brood over the past or worry about the future. One time, in the middle of a divine discourse, he abruptly and asked the devotees, "What is the shape of worry?" It was a rhetorical question, of course, indicating that worry only existed in the mind. In a private interview to a devotee named Ranima, Swami asked her if she had any problems. Being a mother of 2 children, the husband with a very busy job, she had several domestic. So she responded, yes. She said, "Yes, Swami, I do have many problems." And Swami responded to her, "Ranima, when you're dreaming, are you able to tell that you're in a dream and that you're dreaming?" She replied, "No, Swami, I can't tell that I'm dreaming." Swami continued, "When you wake up, do you know that it was just a dream?" Pat came the reply, "Yes, Swami." Swami then looked into her eyes and said, I am telling you now, this life is a dream. Realize it." Swami has given us another maxim to live by. Life is a challenge. Meet it. In today's panel discussion, we'll see how to navigate this challenge and learn how to cope with fear and stress in a healthy way. Dr. Sindhura, this pandemic has caused strong of loneliness and isolation in families. We know that not all children may respond to stress in the same way. As a child psychiatrist, I'm sure parents would like to hear from you on what are some changes, signs, and symptoms they need to watch for in their children. Please share your thoughts, and we'll go to Varaka after that. Sairam.
Sairam, Sister Anu, thank you so much for starting off such a great endeavor that as a region, they're taking up this very important discussion about the children and the parents who seem to be in great distress, especially in this today's time. And I'm honored and I'm really grateful to Swamy for allowing me to be part of this discussion. And regarding the question that you just posed, I would like to add a few things, which is each child, based on the age, the symptoms and signs of distress can be shown differently. A very young child, I would say maybe below age 7, from 2 to 6, when they are really upset, when there are changes happening, they show their changes in food, the way they are irritable. They can't express with words, so they show it with actions. They might say that they have pain in the stomach, they might not sleep well, they might be irritable in their mood, they might be aggressive in their play. A lot of times, if you watch the kids at this age play, they like to show whatever is going on in their mind using their, toys. So a lot of times, whatever they're feeling, they'll show in the toys. That this toy is feeling really sad, or this toy wants to hit this other toy. Something like that. If parents or teachers can pay attention to their play, they can understand what's happening in their mind for that age group. I think a little older, like middle school up until high school, before teenage years, again, they might be able to communicate, but a lot of it would be nonverbal communication. I would encourage parents or teachers or whoever, Balvikas gurus, to pay attention to their sleep patterns, their food habits, and their mood fluctuations. These are the 3 things. If you see a drastic change in them, like they're not sleeping well, or they're not eating okay, and they're isolating themselves. This is most common in the teenager range of kids. Isolation, withdrawing from the family, not wanting to speak, and really immersing themselves in a different world, like a game world. Now there's so many avenues to escape reality. So if you see them really wanting to escape reality, you want to keep that, track that, observe that, and see there's something that they're not happy with their current reality. They're wanting to change it. So these are the signs that I would watch for in these 3 age groups. And I would really, as a mother or as a teacher, your children much better than a doctor would ever know. So you would know when things are a little bit abnormal. You know your child, how they have been before and how they are now. I would encourage, if a parent has this sense something is wrong, don't take that lightly. Follow up, talk to a professional, and find out what your worry is about your child, because there's a gut feeling, that something is up. I would definitely listen to that inner gut feeling, especially of a mother or a parent, or even a SSC teacher. They know their children really well. So that would be my recommendation in terms of identifying signs and symptoms and when to reach out for a professional.
Those are great insights. Thank you very much, Sindhura. Varaka, would you like to add about any changes that parents need to watch for in the children?
First and foremost, I'd like to pay my salutations at the Divine Lotus feet of our beloved Bhagavan, Sri Sathya Sai Baba. And I'd like to thank the organizers, Sisters Chitra and her team, for coming up with this wonderful idea of a panel discussion. Thank you, Sister Sindhura, for a very insightful answer. As a parent and as a teacher for 17 years, my question to you is, as you very well put it, we know our children, but still, as a parent, I would feel that first and foremost, don't you think that we have to educate our children as to how to handle this crisis? And what advice would you give in those terms? How could we prepare our children to handle crisis? If you can please shed some light on it.
Again, I think when we talk about children, these 3 age groups that I mentioned, it would be a very different answer. A young child, I would not tell them anything verbally. They will learn on how to handle a crisis by looking at you, how you are handling a crisis. I think all 3 age groups will do that, but younger children even more. The second age group, the middle age range, 7 to 12. I'm talking about 7 to 12 or 7 to 13. You can have discussions, you can talk about stories, and as a family, you can discuss the hardships that you're having and how you're overcoming them as parents, and they will listen to them. If you haven't done that, you can talk about different stories, Swamy stories, Chinnakada stories, where hardships have been, life is full of hardships. This is another one, and showing them in story format would be really helpful for that age group. And I think an older age kid, if you want to talk to them about handling hardships, neither of the first two would work as well. It would be more about having a discussion with them more as a friend of what's really bothering them, and then telling them about your opinion, how you're handling it, more on the same level basis, discussing with them about conflict and how you would handle it, how your father would handle it, how your grandmother would handle the situation. Like really talking with them and asking them, not just sharing your side of the story, but asking them their point of view, their opinion, where do they stand? Because at that age, you're trying to develop an independent human being. You're in the process of developing an independent human being. So you definitely want to take their opinion, their mindset in that discussion of conflict resolution.
And I thank you. And I think it is really okay. For the first thing, as a parent, we need to communicate our children. It is okay to feel nervous. It is okay that things are not going out the way we expect them to, but all things have to end. There is light at the end of the tunnel, and having an open communication with your children and trying to create a conducive environment to be able to express themselves, I think would be a great way to do it. For all of us to do this, I think first and foremost, as you mentioned, the parents should be in a position to care for themselves, to realize what they are going through. Because with the pandemic, none of us were actually ready for all this. But I think looking back in this 1 year, as Anu was saying, we've evolved. I think we need a pat on our back and say that we did survive with the grace of God for all the teachings that He's given us. And I think we were able to, compared to many people who have lost lives, who have lost jobs, to be able to see the positive aspects of whatever is happening and staying in the present rather than what has happened and what is going to happen in the future, because none of us know what holds for us in the future. And I think as parents, just having an open communication and also talking about it and saying that we have to count our blessings, because a lot of people have lost their jobs, and taking for granted the work that the healthcare professionals put in, the truck drivers put in to bring in all the food items. The grocery stores are still open. We do have food on the table. There are people delivering food items to our doors. And I think our children are smart enough to understand that, as long as we are open enough to bring them into that conversation. Having said that, we all know that as parents, we have been juggling a lot of responsibilities, like working from home, the family, then children's online classes. And how is it that we can take care of ourselves is the question. And me, I'd like to give my thoughts and insights about it. And as a parent, what I always feel is my father has been a great influence on my life. He always would say something so very special. When we were very young, he would say, life would bring in hurdles, life would bring in tests, but we cannot look at them as blocks, hurdles, but we need to learn from it and derive strength. What do we do to come out of that situation. And he always would say, he has passed away 23 years ago, but what we tell our children is going to stay with them forever. And that is what is called parenting. And what he told us was, if you are fit enough, if you take care of yourself, and then you will be able to take care of the situation, and you're going to be in a stronger position to take care of your children who depend on you, so that you can support them and create a conducive environment. I think the first thing that we need to learn as parents is to take care of ourselves. Especially this message is for women. And me as a mother, our top priority is family. Keeping everybody safe, keeping them well nutritioned, keeping them on tasks. And I think we have to realize that we cannot do it all. And we as a team have to come together to work to achieve our goals. And if, as a parent, if you're doing everything, when is it that you are going to give our children the responsibility? We did talk about hardships and how they need to rise up to these situations. And one such thing would be to give them few responsibilities around the house so that you are not burned out. Just because we are working from home doesn't mean that we eat at a different time, we sleep at a different time. So we have to first take care of ourselves. And as Sindhura said, we are the role models. They're learning from us. And one classic example is when our children were growing up, and we still remember, it's very fresh in our memories, that if it is a girl, she would put on her mom's dress, a lipstick, a purse, and wear her high heels and would say, "Mom, how do I look?" And that is a great indication that they are looking up to us and they want to follow in our footsteps. And that is where we need to drive how strong we need to be as parents. But strong doesn't mean always being there and handling all the situations, but still being calm and trying to do the best that we can in the situations. Now, I think during the pandemic, what has happened is both parents are given not only the we need to take care of the children's needs, but we are constantly in fear that how are they dealing, because they're not able to meet friends, they're not able to go out. Will they ever be ready to go out without mask, or with mask, how are they going to handle it? So I think eating well, sleeping, the circadian cycle is very, very important, because not getting enough sleep, it can cause many health issues as well as the emotional imbalance. So I think doing all this would really help our children to follow in our footsteps. And here I wanted to ask Anu, being Swamy's student and being raised under his umbrella, what it means, that what did Swamy say about self-care, and what did he say that we as parents have to do to keep our balance so that we are in a position to take care of the situation that's at hand.
Thank you so much, Varaka. Those were some great insights for me too as a parent. I know I have 2 teenage children, so those are some great insights. Thank you very much for sharing. Since we're on the topic of self-care, I should say that, for me, just being around friends, being around like-minded individuals, whether it's at the SAI Center or even in your local communities, that was part of the self-care routine for me and for my family too. Swamy would use the word Ananda Pipasi about man. He would say how man is constantly in search of happiness. It's just our nature. And so many of us, our entire family, like you rightly mentioned, we're almost on autopilot mode now, right? We are just going through the motions, our daily routine, wake up in the morning, open the computer, online school or work from home. And we are also managing the other roles and responsibilities. So I think now more than ever is when we need to focus on, caring for ourselves. Because I remember when we were discussing about this earlier, Varaka, it was you that mentioned when you're in a flight, you first put on the seatbelt yourself, and only then you help your child or the other person that is sitting next to you. And it's so beautiful that even during this pandemic, when we are all, cocooned in our homes, you feel the sense of safety because you're able to tune into a lot of these online satsangs. A lot of SAI activities, center activities have now become online, whether it's a devotional program or SSE classes. And I have noticed great attendance since we switched online. And the kids are actually excited and waiting to go back in person when things are safer. And this is definitely not the time for us to drift away from Swamy or Sai activities. In fact, now more than ever, we need to focus some more. As a family unit, sit together at bhajans. If it's an online bhajan, sit together in the puja room and pray to Swamy, or set up a little altar by your music system and sing to Swamy. And, talking about self-care for me as a parent, as an individual, as a mother, listening to bhajans, listening to Samarpan talks, that I find is my time with Swamy. And I still do that when I'm driving alone. I listen to a talk. I sometimes just park when I'm waiting for my son when he's at his tennis match. I sit in the car, I'm listening to a talk, I'm making notes, reading a book sometimes. And these are some ways that I care for myself. And, occasionally I would say, it's okay to make your favorite dish, Mom. You don't always have to make what the family likes to eat. It's okay to make a dish that you like, and the family will learn to like it. And for me personally, a huge part, Akka, of self-care is attending the virtual satsangs. And I can't stress on that enough. Swamy's been so kind. We have so many opportunities at the local center levels, at the regional level, like we are in the satsang right now, national level, and even at the global level. We have Akhanda Gayatri. Is that something we would have ever thought of, before the pandemic? We've had 5 various Akhanda Gayatris over the past year. So continuing on the topic of self-care, Akka, I would say, again, to add to what Sindhura and you both mentioned, children react in part, if not wholly, to what they see from us as adults, right? Around the adults around them. And I think it was Emerson that said, what you speak, I can't hear it, because what you're doing speaks so much louder than that. So it behooves us to conduct ourselves in a way that our children can, role model after us. And learning from my own mother, as you mentioned, Akka, about your father, Namasmarana was such a huge focus for my mother. And that is something she's passed on to me. And I'm praying that that is something I've been able to pass on to my own children too. As Mirabai would sing in her beautiful song, Kirtan, Payo Ji Maine, Nama Ratan Dhan Payo. She would say the biggest wealth is the name of the Lord. And that is something we've all been blessed with. That is something we can pass on to our next generation. And that is really the greatest wealth there ever is. And if you notice, talking about role modeling, who better than our beloved Lord? And Swamy has never asked us to do something that he himself has not done. Take, for example, the Pandari Bhajan Mandali that he formed. The cholera epidemic was all around Puttaparthi, all the villages around Puttaparthi. Swamy gathered other boys. He was a young boy at the time. He gathered other children in the village, and he woke them up early, and they would wander around the village singing the names of the Lord. And modeling from Swamy, this is Namasmarana, giving that faith, instilling that faith is something that I feel is my self-care, and is something that I would like to relate to all the families that are listening. I'd like to hear what Sindhura thinks about this topic, about self-care.
Thank you so much for both of you for such insightful, thought-provoking answers. When it comes to self-care, I often ask parents, and often myself, to really be aware of what is the self wanting and needing at that time. Really being aware to, am I feeling sad right now? Am I feeling happy? Am I feeling excited? Am I feeling irritated? Like really knowing where you are in the moment. And then asking yourself, what is the best care I can give for that, whatever the answer came for you. And I think if you practice that, you would know what's your state, whether you decide, okay, I'm feeling irritated right now, and my go-to is Swamy's bhajans or Swamy's discourse, and then listen to the Swamy's discourse or bhajans, and then check again, do I feel irritated or the same state as I was before? Did it work? And most of the time it does work. And some people have very different ways of caring for whatever answer came from the inner self that is needing whatever it's needing at that time. And I would say when you're modeling this to your children, I would talk to the kids. Say, I am feeling really upset right now. And then help them see what you're doing in that phase to help you feel better. And then tell them after, I was feeling this way, and then I did this, and then I'm feeling this way. Oh, that really helped me. If it was a teenager, I would tell them, this is what works for me. You have to figure out your own. Try a few things. Give them a platter of choices to try, and then help them check. Do you understand what you're feeling right now? You can select from this platter of things you can do, and then check again, see which one worked for you to help you feel better. And I think at the root of self-care is self-awareness of the emotional state you're in at different parts of the day. And the emotional state a person is in before and after an activity. So you know how that activity made you feel. And also understanding, is that activity just a Band-Aid or a Tylenol, and then the inner feeling is coming back again after 1 hour? So it was a temporary fix, or is it a deep fix? Just that level of awareness is needed for parents so they can show their vulnerabilities and their attempts of trying to take care of themselves. And that's how the kids would learn. And they would also know at that time that, oh, I'm allowed to try different things. I don't have to do the same things that my mom or my dad does to do self-care. Oh, I have a choice? I didn't know I have a choice. So talking to them, saying that they have a choice, I think would be really like freeing for them, especially teenagers. But most of the time, if you give them choice, they will select whatever you selected for your self-care. So that's what I have to say. I think it takes a lot of self-awareness.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Sindhura. Varaka, I spoke extensively about my connection with Swamy and how I continue to maintain that now. I'd love to hear your insights as an experienced SSC teacher. What can you share with the parents?
Thank you. That's my very favorite subject. For me, I never feel alone. I'm always in the company of my divine Lord. He's my father, my guru, my mother, and he's always been my go-to guy. For me, some people have few strengths and they do have certain weaknesses. If you ask me to name my strength, I would say Swamy. And if you ask me to name my weakness, I would say Swamy, because when you have him as a strength and weakness, you can never go wrong. But for that to happen, we have to build a connection. It is never going to happen in a day or two. But as I already said, we have been very lucky. Swamy has been very gracious to me to be born into a family where spirituality was the most important thing while we were growing up. And my father would make us sit and talk about stories. And later, about 27 years ago, I came into Swamy, not knowing who he was at all. But ever since then, I talked to him. I do not have, because when Chitra was asking me to send her a picture, I asked her, do you want this picture of Swamy? She said, you with Swamy. I said, Chitra, I don't have pictures of myself with Swamy, but I can tell you honestly that he is in my heart. I have a heart-to-heart relationship. And immediately she sent me the flyer where she said, I see it. And she sent me the flyer where Swamy was within the heart. And that was so very profound. I never doubt my devotion to him because it is not my devotion. All I need to do is just love him. And he says, take one step towards me and I'll take 1,000. And I have taken the first step 27 years ago. And he is walking with me, talking to me and guiding us. Today, we wouldn't be sitting here talking about how to handle this situation unless until he has given us something to hold on to. And I'm also reminded of one of Swamy's quote where he says, when life gives you 100 reasons to cry, show life, you are trained by Swamy to smile back. And that's something that I do it. I have faced a lot of challenges in my life. And to name a few for the benefit of viewers, I would want to share one of my experiences. Within 45 minutes, I had lost complete hearing. I was doing a satsang. I was doing a satsang to earn my degree for the SAI educator. And I was doing the satsang as a part of my project, and I felt dizzy, and I didn't even realize that I'd lost my hearing. And my friends were talking, and I couldn't hear anything. And but still, I was on steroids. I couldn't walk. I was perspired, but I would go to center, holding the walls. And when people ask me, why? I would say, the same thing. When he tests me, I test him back. You are my strength. And I told Swamy, if I have to die, it's written, that's my destiny. I'm going to die. But what best to do than to serve you and while serving the Divine Lord? And I think as a parent, not only teaching our children to handle crisis, but teaching our children and giving them this weapon of holding on to the Divine Lord, making him your best friend. I think that's the treasure we could give our children. And I feel that as a parent, we try to take up all the responsibilities and we try to lead their lives, and we don't want them to face any kind of challenges, and we think that we have to shield them, but that's not going to work. But Swamy gives us all these challenges, but he also is behind us to pick us up. And I'm still reminded of one of the quotes that my father used to say: the success is not in never falling, but rising every time you fall. And I think Swamy had portrayed that to each one of us in different ways. And one such story you might know, Anu, is the MBA students, the first batch of MBA students, when they had taken the first exam, the first semester of MBA, Swamy was walking. This is what we read, and it totally inspires us. The Divine Mother that he is, he's not telling us that you should not be worried about your children and their future, but what kind of limitations and boundaries we need to have is what he was teaching us. He didn't have to pace for the students to come back. And when he asked, oh, boys, how did you do the exam? And one of the boys had said, Swamy, I think I'm going to fail. For the loving mother that he said, it is okay, come to me. It's okay. And he gave him a pen and he said, tomorrow you will do the exam very well. And what he was trying to do is ease his mind off the present situation so that he can focus on doing well on his next exam. And I think that is what we have to learn, because we cannot expect children to be foolproof. We cannot expect children not to have certain setbacks, but we have to teach them and support them that we are ever going to be there. And I think I have a long way to model that, but keeping Swamy as my goal, I think all of us, especially our children, are very smart, and I think shown the right direction, it's instant connection. As long as we show we are logical, we have good reasoning, they will connect to them. I think all that will happen when we sit back and allow them to flap their wings. As she was saying, what works for us might not work for them. And I think Sindhura had put it so beautifully, that let them flap their wings. But when you jump in when they get tired, when they feel that they need, you be the perch that they could land on. And I think that's what Swamy has given me. And that's what I would like to give, not just my child, for every child that comes into that door, walks into that door as an SSC student. And I think, as you beautifully said, that when we give birth to our children, it is due to our karmas. But when he has trusted these children into our care, I think he has put all those qualities in each and every one of us. Otherwise, he wouldn't have given us this opportunity to serve his chosen children, because he said, my students are my property. And if he's trusting us with them, I think we as a group, and again, I have to thank Chitra and her team for truly not only seeing those signs, but bringing us all together. We are no experts. We are speaking from our hearts as one parent to the other parent, one teacher to the other teacher, to see what kind of experiences that we've had, so that we share and we grow together and we support each other and we come out of this pandemic or any other situation that Swamy throws at it. Thank you.
That's wonderful, Akka. Thank you so much for sharing. Sindhura, as an SSC graduate and currently an active young adult, how do you stay connected to Swamy? Would you like to share with the audience? There might be young mothers in the audience. There might be young adults that are tuned in from across the region. I'm sure they'd love to hear your thoughts on this.
Yeah. So, my journey has been really varied at different parts. As a young child, I was, I had a very different kind of connection with Swamy. And now I have a very different kind of connection with Swamy. When I was an SSC student, I had more of sort of like a friendship. I was always talking to him. I was going on a roller coaster and thinking, Sairam, Sairam, whenever I was scared, like fear used to bring me to Swamy all the time. And Balvikas was very influential in who I am today. I think maybe the most influential after my parents. I really developed and shaped my personality through those years and the people that I've met. But I think one incident comes to my mind. I was in Puttaparthi. I used to go there in college, during college, every summer to do medical camps. My grandfather used to work in the ashram, so I used to stay with my grandparents and do medical camps. And I was just so desperate. I would read all the Vahinis and I would be just like so jealous. I studied the entire ashram's, the lines, who gets what line. My whole goal was, how can I get ahead? And I was like 17, 18. So I saw that anybody who does the mobile hospital or the hospital lines can get this particular one row. So, all of that. And I tried many days, did everything I possibly could not get ahead. One day I was just like so frustrated. I would walk around and I used to say, what 18-year-old is in Puttaparthi over summer break, like desperately trying to get ahead on this line? And I was so tired. And then I used to read lots of books, and I used to say, all these people, when they write these amazing, deep, heartfelt letters, Swamy gets them. So I used to fantasize. So one day I wrote a letter, and it had nothing on it other than 108 thank yous. And I was like, this has to get to Swamy. There's just no way. Just 108 thank yous. And I thought about one thing that I'm grateful of as I was writing each thank you. And that particular day, I was somehow right up in the front, and Swamy took that letter from me. And I thought that was so, it really touched me. And thereafter, I was like, okay, this really worked. So gratitude is my way to go. if I want to get, if I want to get any connection with Swami. Then next day, I wrote another letter. This time I was like, I'm going to try something else. If this is working, then I should try other things. So then next time I wrote, I want darshan, sparshan, and sambhashan, all three. So then I took that letter, and he took that letter as well, but didn't talk, and I didn't get to touch him. And I said, oh my God, I think I'm going to have all three. This is it. But it all started from gratitude. And then for many, many days, nothing really happened until one day I was just walking. I was 19, maybe 18, I think. And I was just so curious to get ahead always. So as soon as I turned 18, I took the teacher's training, became an SSC teacher. Like, they were like, you have to turn 18. So the day after my birthday, I said, okay, I'm going to be an SSC teacher. But even to this day, I have not taught an SSC class after getting my teacher certificate. But it was so interesting. I was in Puttaparthi. There was World Teachers Conference happening, and I was doing medical camps. And some person from the Purnachanda auditorium says, we really need you. What are you doing walking around here? Just come inside and help with the exhibition. I don't know. One thing led to another thing, led to another thing. I got a badge. They asked me if I was a teacher certified. And I actually went in, and Swami came, and after a few days, again, after I repeated inside, thank you, thank you, thank you. I figured out that was my way to get to Swami, and he came, and I was exhibiting schools of North America. I had no idea. I was 18, and I was showing them books, SSC books of North America, curriculum, and I got to have Pad Namaskar, and I got darshan, sparshan, and sambhashan. He gave me 2 chocolates during that time. Immediately ate the candy and gave the other one to somebody else. But I don't know, I really hold that whole experience very closely to my heart. And I think right now, after going to medical school and after going through a lot of other experiences in life, now I think the way I connect with Swami is through gratitude. From that point till now, still every day, I think that's my strength. When I communicate with him, when I see and I think about him, when I see my patients, it's always through gratitude.
What a beautiful thought. I think that's something we should all carry, right? It's not just for you. All of us should remember Swami with so much gratitude. He's given us so much indeed. Sairam, dear parents, teachers, and children, thank you so much for joining us today. I hope you benefited from the session we had with the 3 panelists today. We will be continuing this discussion again next week. So please do join us this will be with a fresh set of new questions that were submitted by the parents. So please join us next week. Sairam.
Om Sai Ishwaraya Vidmahe Satyadevaya Dhimahi Tanna Sarva Prachodayat. Om Sai Ishwaraya Vidmahe Satyadevaya Dhimahi Tanna Sarva Prachodayat. Om Sai Ishwaraya Vidmahe Satyadevaya Dhimahi Tanna Sarva Prachodayat. Om Sai Ishwaraya Vidmahe Satyadevaya Dhimahi Tanna Sarva Prachodayat. Om Sai Ishwaraya Vidmahe Satyadevaya Dhimahi तन्नः सर्वप्रचोदयात्। ॐ साईश्वराय विद्महे सत्यदेवाय धीमहि 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 तन्नः सर्वप्रचोदयात्।
साई पिता रे माता साई साई पिता रे माता साई
Avatarize, avatarize, Sai avatarize.
भवनाशा पुट्टपर्ति पुरीशा भवनाशा पुट्टपर्ति पुरीशा भवनाशा पुट्टपर्ति पुरीशा भवनाशा पुट्टपर्ति पुरीशा जय शिव शंकर हे परमेशा जय शिव शंकर हे
Krishna, Radha Krishna,
Krishna Krishna, Radha Krishna,
Krishna Krishna, Radha Krishna,
Krishna Krishna, Radha Krishna,
Govinda Gopal Venu Krishna,
Govinda Gopal Venu Krishna,
Govinda Gopal Venu Krishna,
Govinda Gopal Venu Krishna,
Manmohan Krishna, Madhusudan Krishna,
Manmohan Krishna, Madhusudan Krishna,
Manmohan Krishna, Madhusudan Krishna,
Manmohan Krishna, Madhusudan Krishna,
Murari Krishna, Mukunda Krishna,
Murari Krishna, Mukunda Krishna,
Murari Krishna, Mukunda Krishna,
Murari Krishna, Mukunda Krishna,
Krishna Krishna, Radha Krishna,
Krishna Krishna, Radha Krishna,
Govinda Gopal Venu Krishna,
Govinda Gopal Venu Krishna,
Manmohan Krishna, Madhusudan Krishna,
Manmohan Krishna, Madhusudan Krishna,
Murari Krishna, Mukunda Krishna,
Murari Krishna, Mukunda Krishna,
Murari Krishna, Mukunda Krishna,
Murari Krishna, Mukunda Krishna,
Krishna Krishna, Radha Krishna.
प्रभु रामचंद्र के दूता हनुमंता आंजनेया,
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 हनुमंता 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 आंजनेया,
हनुमंता 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 आंजनेया,
हनुमंता 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 आंजनेया,
हनुमंता 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 आंजनेया,
हे पवन पुत्र हनुमंता बल भीमा 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 आंजनेया,
बल भीमा बल भीमा 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 बल भीमा आंजनेया,
प्रभु रामचंद्र के दूता हनुमंता आंजनेया,
रामचंद्र के दूता हनुमंता आंजनेया,
हनुमंता 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 आंजनेया,
हनुमंता 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 सब मिलकर मंगल गाए।
हम सब मिलकर मंगल गाए।
हम सब मिलकर मंगल गाए।
हम सब मिलकर मंगल गाए।
साईं भगवान सत्य, साईं भगवान,
साईं भगवान सत्य, साईं भगवान,
साईं भगवान सत्य, साईं भगवान,
साईं भगवान सत्य, साईं भगवान।
सब सुख जीवन साईं भगवान,
सब सुख जीवन साईं भगवान,
सब दुख हरना साईं भगवान,
सब दुख हरना साईं भगवान।
सब सुख जीवन साईं भगवान,
सब सुख जीवन साईं भगवान,
सब दुख हरना साईं भगवान, सत्य स्वरूप साईं भगवान, सत्य स्वरूप साईं भगवान, परति निवास साईं भगवान, हृदय निवास साईं भगवान, हृदय निवास साईं भगवान, हम सब मिलकर मंगल गाए। साईं भगवान सत्य, साईं भगवान, साईं भगवान सत्य, साईं भगवान, सब सुख जीवन साईं भगवान, सब दुख हरना साईं भगवान, सत्य स्वरूप साईं भगवान, परति निवास साईं भगवान, हृदय निवास साईं भगवान, साईं भगवान सत्य, 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 साईं भगवान, हम सब
मदन मोहन श्याम सुंदर 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 मदन मोहन मोर मकुटधारी मोर मकुटधारी मोर मकुटधारी मोर मकुटधारी माधव हरि माधव हरि माधव गिरिधारी 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 श्याम सुंदर मदन मोहन श्याम सुंदर मदन मोहन मोर मकुटधारी मोर मकुटधारी मोर मकुटधारी मोर मकुटधारी माधव हरि माधव हरि माधव गिरिधारी 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 माधव ओ माधव हरि माधव गिरिधारी माधव ओ माधव हरि माधव गिरिधारी श्याम सुंदर मदन मोहन श्याम सुंदर मदन मोहन श्याम सुंदर मदन मोहन श्याम सुंदर मदन मोहन मोर मकुटधारी मोर मकुटधारी मोर मकुटधारी मोर मकुटधारी माधव हरि माधव हरि माधव गिरिधारी 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 श्याम सुंदर मदन मोहन श्याम सुंदर मदन मोहन श्याम सुंदर मदन मोहन श्याम सुंदर मदन मोहन मोर मकुटधारी मोर मकुटधारी मोर मकुटधारी मोर मकुटधारी माधव हरि माधव हरि माधव गिरिधारी माधव हरि माधव हरि माधव गिरिधारी श्याम सुंदर मदन मोहन श्याम सुंदर मदन मोहन मोर मकुटधारी मोर मकुटधारी माधव हरि माधव हरि माधव गिरिधारी माधव हरि माधव हरि माधव गिरिधारी
जय जगदीश हरे स्वामी सत्य साई हरे भक्त जना संरक्षक भक्त जना संरक्षक भक्ति महे शांति 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 समस्तलोका सुखिनो भवन्तु समस्तलोका सुखिनो भवन्तु समस्तलोका सुखिनो भवन्तु ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः.
Sairam, thought for the week. Remember always that it is easy to do what is pleasant, but it is difficult to be engaged in what is beneficial. Not all that is pleasant is profitable. Success comes to those who give up the path strewn with roses and brave the hammer blows and sword thrusts of the path fraught with danger. As a matter of fact, no road is strewn with rose petals. Life is a battlefield, a dharmakshetra, where duties and desires are always in conflict. Smother the fiery fumes of desire, hatred, and anger that rise up in your hearts. It is sheer cowardice to yield to these enemies that turn you into beasts. When obstacles come, meet them with courage. They harden you, make you tough. The best way to get rid of weakness is to strike at the very taproot of the tree, the mistaken notion that you are the body with this name and this form, these senses, this intelligence and this mind. These are all only the luggage you carry. Divine Discourse, February 20th, 1965.
भूर्भुवस्सुवः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात् अशीम बहु वहिष्ठेमस्ति उष्टास्ति उष्टाहमय शतशाय वहिष्ठाय यशि नमो तस्सा भगवतो अरहतो सम्मा सम्बुद्धस्स बुद्धं शरणं गच्छामि धम्मं शरणं गच्छामि संघं शरणं गच्छामि श्मा इस्राएल अदोनाय एलोहेनु अदोनाय एहा अदोनाय एहा अदोनाय एहा. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Bismillah ar-Rahman Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. La ilaha illallah, Allah, Allah. 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 Saishwaraya vidmahe satyadevaya dhimahi tanna sarva prachodayat.